How often do you think about the Oscars? About how many Oscar-winning films there are and how many you've seen? Yeah, there's a few famous Oscar-winning films that we've all seen. You know, The Godfather and Lord of the Rings and Titanic. I'm King of the World, all that stuff. But the Oscars have been running since 1927. There are currently over 1,000 films, feature-length films, which have won an Oscar. How many have you seen? I did the numbers for myself. It's not many, and I consider myself quite a movie buff. So here then is the premise of this podcast. Every episode, I and a rotating cast of 2 guests will randomly select one of the 1,000 films that have won an Oscar, watch it, and talk about it, with the only requirement being that one of the 3 people on each episode has to have never seen the movie before we talk about it. That will get difficult with Star Wars. Please note that our coverage of a movie does not constitute an endorsement of it. My least favorite movie of 2016, David Ayer's Suicide Squad, won an Oscar for Best Makeup, while my favorite movie of 2016, The Handmaiden, wasn't even nominated for anything. Please also note that our coverage of a movie is not a blanket endorsement of any or all of the people involved in it. A lot of terrible people have won Oscars. Kevin Spacey won an Oscar 20 years before he was outed as an abuser, and Roman Polanski won one 20 years after. But every film, good, bad, or in many cases mediocre, that has won an Oscar is an important part of film history just for being there. And they all, on some level, deserve a tiny bit of consideration, even if that consideration ends up concluding that it's garbage.
And with all of that in mind, I am your host, as always, Ellie McConaughey, and with me today is River Lane.
Joining you for yet another noir dealing with the post-World War II of it all.
And not the movie guy.
Do we have a response from Sweden in regards to the battle between Michelangelo and the Cuckoo Clock?
I think the response was Sweden didn't make it.
Switzerland.
Switzerland. I apologize.
And in case the reference to Switzerland and Cuckoo Clock didn't clue you in, we are here today to talk about The Third Man, the 1949 Carol Reed film that won Best Cinematography Black and White at the 23rd Academy Awards.
As it fucking should have.
As it fucking should have. Gorgeous looking film.
Yeah.
This is fully one of those movies that a bunch of pretentious movie guys tell you, yeah, it's really fucking good, and then you watch it, you're like, God fucking damn it, they were right.
Top tier use of your Orson Welles, by the way. He's on screen for 10 minutes and spends 5 of them just monologuing menacingly.
His first monologue in the Ferris wheel, he just takes the entire film away from Joseph Cotten. Like, completely.
Mm-hmm. He was something. He's just got that voice.
Shows up for 12 minutes, ruins everyone's life, and then dies.
This back-to-back with Sense and Sensibility means we're now 2 for 2 with movies with actors in it where you go, that voice!
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Alan Rickman, the other one, for those of you who haven't listened to our previous episode and are thus hurting my feelings. So, River and Matt, I think this is both of your first time through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took a class on film noir in college. We missed this one. So, it's been a while since college, but I've never seen this, but like River, everybody and their mother told me to see it, and I just put it off for the last God knows how many years.
See, when I was but a teenager, and one long weekend I got so depressed and bored at a parent's friend's place that I watched almost every Watch Mojo video in existence back when Watch Mojo was in their infancy. And then someone was like, nah, man, this is shit. Go watch Cinepix. And I was like, you're right. This is way better. And this is like one of Cineflix's like favorite fucking movies. It's like this, In the Mood for Love, and oh god, what's their other one? Is it The Mirror? No. It's something, a burning house in the middle of nowhere.
Nostalgia?
I don't remember. I'll find it after recording. Yeah, it might be Nostalgia. Maybe?
Is it the one with the dude trying to cross the empty pool?
No, it's the one where a girl sits in a window and stares out at like it zooms in on her quietly in a middle of the woods.
Stalker?
No, no, I don't remember.
Editing Ellie here. Turned out to be the 1975 Andrei Tarkovsky film Mirror. Good film to have as one of your favorites. I personally prefer Stalker.
I'll find it later. But anyway, it's like one of their 3 favorite movies. They put it in everything. So I knew of this movie, and it was on my like watch list of things that I should theoretically get around to. But I don't adhere to my watch list ever, unless I'm really, really desperate. And when you needed a pinch hitter, I was like, yeah, I could watch an hour and 44-minute movie on a Friday. What's gonna stop me?
Nothing. Nothing's gonna stop you.
Exactly.
I mean, if I had to like nail down not only a purpose of this podcast, but the purpose of the like it has to be someone's first time through each movie. That rule, it's that like I think all of us who are like at all reasonably into film have a big fucking watch list of like movies we've always like meant to see, but that's not going to happen. The reason why you see most of these movies in film school is because like someone's going to sit down and fucking make you. Someone's going to grab you by your ear and go, okay, we're watching Touch of Evil, motherfuckers.
Real. Or not even fully Touch of Evil. We're just watching the first 10 minutes of Touch of Evil to learn about fucking montage.
No, the first 10 minutes of Touch of Evil is a
oneer.
Is the long shot.
Yeah.
My point, I guess, is that like, a lot of these movies that I'm going to be bringing up are on someone's, gotta watch that, and a lot of them are on mine. I haven't seen every movie that we're covering, so I'm glad I could get this movie off some people's watch list. It's real good. It was good the first time I saw it, and it's good this time.
Yeah. I will say, I meant to Google what the fuck the zither is, but there are some times where the score happens in this movie, and I'm like, this sounds like a SpongeBob bit. Like, the scene where fucking Martins is trying to escape from the cops after he's been bitten by the parrot, that's fully just a scene from SpongeBob with that music.
It's a problem. So the Third Man theme was actually like, I don't know if I can explain this without sounding like a crazy person. So I need you to know, like, they didn't really have like a Hot 100 at the time, because that's not how like music selling worked. But it was there. If there was a chart of like best sellers in stores, this was at number 1 for 11 weeks.
Yeah, I think it charted under the Harry Lime theme.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
This is an insanely popular theme, and it's so weird because if I had to name one thing about the film that like clashes with everything else, it's so often the soundtrack.
Real, because like the soundtrack is used so sparingly, and when it does pop up, I'm like, suddenly this movie is a comedy. Which, being genre aware, this movie is already a comedy, because like as soon as I'm gonna call him Holly because it's easier. As soon as Holly starts like interrogating people and he's getting all these conflicting information, and I'm like, my guy, how have you not come up with the idea that like, was it staged is an option?
Well, that's the thing. The music kind of threw me off a little bit too. Not that it's not good, because it definitely works. It might be one of the best things about it. But it's delightful is what it is. It's this delightful piece of score in the middle of this really dark movie. And I'm like, somebody hit somebody with a rubber chicken.
Well, so like, film noir was a genre term that was applied in aftermath. It was like, it was just a bunch of people playing in the same basic playground, a lot of them with the same stuff on their mind. Like, you referenced this in your opening crack, River, but this is yet another film where, like, man, for reasons that I feel are fairly obvious, for most of the movies that we'll talk about from the 40s, World War II just looms over the whole fucking thing.
Yeah. Like, this movie has to open with an opening monologue to explain how the politics of the city of Vienna work for this movie to make a lick of sense.
And like, that's so interesting because like, nowadays you don't hear much about Vienna post World War II. But obviously, like shit had to be going down there. Maybe it, and they frame it like it's like Berlin.
Like, if this movie were remade today, which apparently has almost happened a few times, it would be set in Germany or England or even New York City, maybe.
Hmm.
Well, maybe not New York City, but somewhere other than Vienna. But there's, I know people say this a lot about big cities, but it almost seems like Vienna is a character in the film.
Hmm.
Vienna is a texture. This movie loses a lot of texture if you take it out of Vienna, because like a lot of the chase scenes have to deal like the entire like third act chase scene is only exists because Vienna specifically has an elaborate system of undercity canals that criminals were doing work out of, and like are wildly people oriented because they gotta drain a bunch of canals in places.
Well, coming back to that, well, because in the hackiest part of my brain, I'm like, we could do that in Paris in the catacombs, right? But then you realize the entire third act doesn't work if it's not Vienna.
Yeah. And climbing over the top of like actively war bombed buildings that are in the middle of being replaced and rebuilt, or like just haven't been touched and are essentially just piles of rubble. Buildings that are now piles of rubble are surprisingly important to the geometry of chase scenes in this movie.
Hmm.
And like that's what I mean when I say that like there's a layer of texture. Like there are set pieces you would have to rework if you took it out of Vienna. Not even to mention the fact that the part of Anna's whole plot, again, if I had a nickel for every movie I was on where a main character named Anna sort of got shafted by being the female love interest in a movie where that is not something that is like focused on at all, I'd have 2 nickels. Also, bonus points for being vaguely.
That would be discounting the ending, but that's.
Yes, but I'm for the sake of a joke. But like the central crux of her plot is having her papers in order. And I don't like there are a couple of places you can do that, but the intricacies in which that becomes such a problem and the way that it is such a problem is both central to this version of the city and also central to like this point in history, you know?
Hmm. It gets extremely complicated trying to alter the plot to fit in other places because one, like you could not take this Texas writer and drop him into New York and have it be the same thing because a huge chunk of the plot is that he is not only does he not speak the language, no one is speaking each other's languages.
Yeah,
He works with the British the most because he can talk to them literally.
actually, that's really interesting. My print of the film that I saw it on Canopy, and doesn't subtitle the German.
It doesn't subtitle the German either in any version.
Yeah, neither does Tubi.
It is literally just speaking German, and I'm like,
Hmm.
that could be really interesting.
Well, that's the thing. Like he doesn't like people will be saying stuff that is important for him to understand, and he just flat out doesn't. And the movie does a lot of really good stuff, incorporating like not only the politics of the time, like the first time he meets the Baron, who is oozing the fact that he's untrustworthy from every pore.
I'm like, either this guy is so bad at lying, or I'm supposed to be pointing at him going, bad guy, that guy's the bad guy.
I'm not gonna lie, I found that hilarious. Just
He is like Peter Lorre in the Maltese Falcon levels of like, okay, so you're a bad guy, right? But he references that like, oh, Austrians can't go to the hotel you're staying at, or like the way the Romanian the way they signify that the Romanian is fucking loaded is he walks up and just like, oh, here's a cigarette, Anna, keep the pack. Like that's an insane amount of money he just handed her.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you could adapt it to be in a different time and different place, but I feel like you'd lose so much by moving it out of this spot where Vienna was divided into 4 quadrants, split between people who were theoretically allies during the war but did not get along at all anymore, especially Russia, who was not getting along with anyone in Europe.
Yeah, and like so much of this plot is centralized on the fact that Harry is like staying in the Russian quadrant because they won't extradite him.
Mm-hmm.
They don't give a shit.
Or even a big stake in this film is literally like nobody can know that I'm from Czechoslovakia
Because
because
the Russians will repatriate her. Yeah.
because the Russians are repatriating people, and it just even as a humanities major, let me put it this way, I didn't study politics in college. I just
I did.
but even as a mostly art minded person, you're like, oh, this is like a way bigger setting than anybody could have imagined.
Well, like so politics and film have a very weird relationship. And like part of the problem is everyone wants to use two movies examples. Everyone wants politics to look like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, or I guess maybe like modern day they want it to look like The West Wing.
Yeah.
What it mostly actually looks like is Conclave. A bunch of dudes standing in rooms talking.
Or does it look like Veep most of the time?
Or Veep does do an okay job, and unfortunately, the guy who wins is usually the lead character from House of Cards, complete with being a rapist behind the scenes.
Watch Veep. It's really good, people.
My point being that the actual mechanics of politics are very hard to put on film and have them be interesting. Maybe I want to watch women talking and watch 10 women sit in a room and talk for 2 hours, but also I'm a crazy person. My brain is fully cooked at this point. So there is, my favorite spy movie is Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I like things where people talk. And so like I understand that they don't want to like make it about the politics of Vienna, the politics of the post World War II period where the Allies had basically completely fallen apart as an alliance, but we're still like nominally in charge of managing Europe together.
Two divorced parents trying to stay together for the kids.
Yeah, and they shouldn't do and to make this to not go too deep into the politics of post World War II Europe. Look up Operation Gladio, kiddos. You shouldn't stay together for your kids. It's bad for you and it fucks up the kids.
Exactly.
So does that make the European Union in this situation a custody agreement?
Yes.
Yeah. And Operation Gladio made Italy that weird kid who winds up spending way too much time on 4chan.
Eek.
I've seen Archer. I know how that went down.
Okay, so we all know what that is. I actually was originally driving at a completely different point, which is about film noir. We are River. You make me just get distracted easily.
Teehee?
Love you, River.
I don't even think it was my fault this time.
The point I was making is that film noir was not a genre that anyone set out to make a specific intentional movement. It was just a bunch of people playing the same sandbox, a lot of them with the same concerns. And therefore, I think that an understated element of a lot of these movies is that a lot of film noir are kind of black comedies. Or if not full on black comedies, they've got a twisted sense of humor if they're really good. The Thin Man is the usual go-to example, but there are others.
Well, so this movie's script is impeccable, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The number of one-liners, top tier. But this movie, so I was rewatching Laura Crone's video about Riley Sager and his oeuvre the other day, and the idea of the personal noir, and how a lot of what we would consider film noir would actually fit into that definition of like personal noir, where it's like somebody who isn't a cop but is like deeply personally connected to the case tries to solve the mystery. And this movie starts as a personal noir before it goes off the fucking rails and basically becomes a spy versus spy skit with affection.
Yeah, I really loved that bit at the like pretentious art house dudes meeting where he and the Romanian just spend like a minute shouting at each other over the crowd like, I'm investigating you don't want to do that, well I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. And the other thing that like really fascinated me as like somebody as again as putting this in the perspective of a film noir is the idea of like you know, a lot of Holly's actions are kind of like, my guy, you should be taking Calloway's advice and getting the fuck out of here.
He gets the porter killed. He gets the porter killed.
Yeah. And so, like, when you know, so what I can't, but like, one of the things that jumped out at me is he's a Western writer. And what it became to me is sort of what I literally took the note is something the ideas of noir versus the Western, like, pre-70s cowboy Western sensibilities, and then how the noir bled into what became the 70s sensibilities of the spaghetti westerns, and how, and like, those ideals, you know?
Well, I mean, at the most basic level, you could call both genres just not even a hyper-masculine fantasy, just an absolute dream of what we think of ourselves, almost an ideal.
I mean, like, the question of, not the question, the setup of a story being character from genre X winds up in genre Y is more common than I think people think. One of my boyfriend's favorite movies of all time is The Fifth Element, and the central gag of that movie is it has an American action movie protagonist in a French sci-fi film. You know, and the ways those things grate on each other is part of the comedy. Or like Burn After Reading is another really good example. Every character in that movie thinks they're in a different genre than they are.
George Clooney thinks he's in a politically centered romantic comedy.
George Clooney thinks he's in a rom-com. John Malkovich thinks he's in an inspiring getting your life together story. So does Frances McDormand, frankly. I think Brad Pitt just thinks he's in a broad slapstick comedy because that's just how he lives his life.
Brad Pitt is just great in that movie.
And all of them don't realize they're in a black comedy until they're getting shot about it.
Why the Russians? Why did she go to the Russians?
But my point, I guess, that I'm making is throwing a dude, like, there are several moments where multiple characters basically say, like, hey man, you can't act like a cowboy out here, and I made that comment a moment ago, like, he is asked, where did you get this piece of information, and because he's still acting like a cowboy, he's like, the porter told me. I'm like, I said in my notes, because I couldn't remember, he just 100% got the porter killed, like, Porter's already a corpse, and he was.
Even the most blunt imagery in this movie, even outside of the mystery, is just when he gets taken to the lecture and has to speak off the cuff to this room of, what'd you say, European intellectuals?
Yeah, European pretentious art house critics, which pulp author winds up at pretentious, giving a lecture at pretentious art house meeting is, again, it's a comedy beat. That is a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is a joke, but it's just like, even if you were to take the joke out of it, it's just like, this dude is completely out of his element here.
He doesn't speak the language. He doesn't understand what his actual cards are, and so he keeps fucking bungling it. That having been said, I do think the film is often quite funny on purpose. I had written down in my notes, I want to be dead too. Some more tea? It's just like a top tier line.
I have death is at the end of everything, save death to the professionals. Or death is at the bottom of everything, save death to the professionals.
The British guy does get a lot of absolutely great lines.
Calloway is so fucking good.
I don't want another murder on this case, and you were born to be murdered.
I don't even know what protocol means. Neither do I, miss.
The correction of, I'm British, not Irish.
I was watching Todd in the Shadow's video on Big Country.
A classic.
Today. And they're a Scottish band, and there's a clip in there of some interviewer going like, well, you and U2, you're both British bands. I'm like, you should not fucking say that to either of them. They will straight kill you.
Like, I mean, even now, Bono looks like he could kick ass.
You call Bono British, he will beat you to death. And frankly, you know what? Whatever you think of Bono, he has that right.
Yeah.
And I mean that in an incredibly complimentary way.
But yeah, I just, like, you know, and then, like, the other note I have after my something noir Western sensibilities is the idea of, like, personal loyalty versus, like, genuine pain and harm versus, like, the chaos. Because, like, I'm thinking about it from, like, the perspective of Vienna's underground, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this guy that they all, like, respect or at least are afraid of, who's making more money than any of them combined, probably, has called this guy in after he's faked his death, and he's investigating his death like it was like a real and proper thing, and they're all just looking at each other going like, what the fuck has he done? Like, what is Harry thinking?
I was never 100% clear on what Harry was calling him in for. I think they like drop a line about how they wanted him to like write ad copy or something.
Well, so like Harry, like I think what Martin says is Harry just said he has a job for him.
Right, but what job would that fucking be?
Maybe copy, maybe gopher, who knows?
But yeah, like the idea that you call up your friend from like boarding school, who you seemingly implied have not spoken to since you graduated, and like you're going through all of this trouble, and you're just like, what is going on?
You two, like, he. I don't want to be mean to Holly.
I do. He's a fucking idiot.
Okay, he is a fucking idiot. I don't want to be mean to Holly about his morals, but it does take an extraordinary amount of pushing for them to basically go like, "Hey man, I know he's your buddy. He is stealing and watering down penicillin. That's fucked up."
Yeah.
Yeah, the psych ward scene, that's a lot.
That would be fucked up in Stamford, Connecticut in the year of our devil 2025. It is extraordinarily fucked up to do in post-war Vienna.
Yeah, and like the other thing is that like I took this note like fairly early on when he was like, you know, like, no, like I know this guy. I'm like, you haven't spoken to him in fucking years. Like, do I have a friend I would believe in after such a long gap of time? Like, I get that like that's like the premise of the movie is like you have to sort of like it's one of the central buy-ins, as it were. But from a realism standpoint, you're just sort of sitting there going like, what are you on about, man?
Here's the thing. I think what the movie does really well is that we don't see anything Harry has done, except maybe the penicillin, but even then, that's just after the fact.
Yeah.
We don't see anything he's done, but yet everybody talks to him like, I mean, as they should, or talks about him like he's the Godfather, as they should.
I was gonna say Marvel's Kingpin, but that works too.
But we don't see anything, and yet it's got an air of it's terrifying, basically.
I mean, we definitely know that he killed what's his tits, the guy whose body was actually in his grave.
Joseph.
But I mean, the one of the pieces of information that the movie sort of very casually drops is like when we see inside of Harry's apartment, he is living like a king in post-war Vienna. You know, got that money from someplace.
Yeah. Like nothing about him is subtle. Like again, he gets introduced with a fucking spotlight.
He does.
It's a great intro.
That's a fantastic shot.
I am more amused by the fact that because it's Anna's cat is just like chilling by his feet because he's like, yeah, you've been around enough. I know who you are. You may eventually get me to where I need to go before like sprinting off in the opposite direction like a goddamn Looney Tune character. The number of times this movie is straight up like object passes by, guy is running in opposite direction. Good bit. Every time it's a good bit.
I like that he doesn't just like disappear when the car drives away. Like he does actually have to just fucking book it.
Yeah, you like hear his feet. The benefits of cobblestone streets and echoes is that you hear everyone's feet go.
So the film is based on a treatment that writer Graham Greene wrote. So it's basically an original screenplay. So if we take the premise of this film as a post World War II film, then we can sort of view Holly's actions, or really like the whole way everyone is acting in this film, as like different reactions to the war. You know, everyone sort of represents a mindset in post-war Europe. You know, the British are trying desperately and ultimately kind of futilely to maintain some kind of law and order, whereas the American is motivated by whim but will not be dissuaded.
Like he's just fine walking around, solving the crime, getting a little angry if he has to, but it's it's like a vacation.
I wouldn't say he's solving a crime. I would say he's stumbling through a crime while everyone else is like half-cocked trying to hide that the crime happened, but also the fact that the crime happened to the guy's buddy. They're like, are we supposed to let him know that he's not dead? Like, that is the energy I get from the Baron also at first, is like, yeah, Harry told me to look after you once you got here. And I feel like part of that line read is the Baron in the back of his head going like, did Harry not tell him he was gonna fake his death? Is he not? Does he know? Is he playing dumb? What's going on here? Like,
So like the vibe that you get, this didn't occur to me on my first view, but the vibe that you get from all of the conspirators on your second view, and once you know the twist, is all of them are trying to feel him out. A, if he knows, and once they all sort of glean on to, oh no, he doesn't actually know. Okay, is he gonna be a problem? And I think the Romani is the only one who twigs on to, oh, he's a fucking moron. I can use him to basically point me at problems that need to be removed by following 10 feet behind him.
yeah.
And he only figures out that He doesn't technically figure out that Harry is still alive.
Harry rocks up to his door.
Harry literally is like, "Hey, buddy, how's it going? Hey, kids, it's Orson Welles."
I don't even know. He doesn't rock up to his door. He's standing outside Anna's apartment because the spotlight that shines on him is her porter, not the guy at the hotel. Like, it's her old lady that keeps yelling about everyone racking her place up.
But he could not. He chose to be there. He basically chose to reveal himself to Holly.
Yeah.
Because he too was trying to figure out if Holly is going to be chill.
Yeah, it's fucking insane behavior. Do love a disheveled Orson Welles. Was not expecting that. Deeply appreciated it. Something about a disheveled man in a suit. Could have been improved with covered in blood, but this is the 1940s. I will take what I can get.
Oh, for Christ's sake, this isn't your fantasy, is it?
No. What? No. I will say I love everyone's coats in this movie.
Good coat movie, yeah.
Great coat movie. Love everyone's coats in this movie. Should we talk about Anna?
We can talk about Anna. I feel Anna is kind of a prototypical film noir. Like okay, that's not actually fair. She's kind of like at a halfway point between a film noir damsel and a film noir femme fatale.
Yeah. R.I.P. Anna, you deserve female writers.
True. So like the distinction most critics slash analyzers of film noir make, and I am being extremely broad here, audience, don't get on my neck about this, is that there are two main archetypes for women in film noir. There is the waif who needs to be saved, who wants things but does not act, and there is the femme fatale who acts but you don't actually know what she wants if the film ever really puzzles out what she wants at all. And Anna is in kind of a weird spot in that she definitely wants shit. We definitely know what she wants.
She wants to not get expatriated by the Russians.
And she wants to reunite with disheveled Orson Welles.
Yes.
Much like River. Listen. I show up on an episode of Love Lies Bleeding or Carol, and y'all are calling me a horny lesbian the entire time. This is my moment now, River.
No. The peak Orson Welles is the one of the decent flashbacks in Citizen Kane. I forget if it's the one at the party or it's one of the ones of him in boarding school. I don't remember which one, but it's one of those. That's the peak Orson Welles flashback.
River, I love you.
Anyway.
And we'll be right back on the horny hour.
Why do I know this about myself? Ask first year film school me. Anyway.
Love you so much, River. My point, I guess, is that like Anna does try several times to like take actions to get her what she wants, and they are just completely ineffective against the weight of of society arrayed against her.
Yeah, like she's prepared to get on the train, and then she's fucking sees Martin's, and she's like, you wouldn't be here if there was some fucking problem. I'm not leaving."
Oh well.
Oh well. Uh,
I guess she gets repatriated to Czechoslovakia.
real.
Don't worry, Anna. In what is it? 50 years, it'll be Czech and the Czech Republic and Slovakia.
No, I thought that one of his last acts is going to Calloway and being like, "Hey, can you do something about that?" And he's like, "If she'll let me." So 50-50.
True.
It's ambiguous in the way that noirs are ambiguous, but I will say I was glad that I was watching a film noir where I didn't have to have the Wikipedia summary up trying to figure out what crime we are not talking about, because
No, they're pretty
blatant.
They're pretty upfront about what everyone did.
Yeah, that's nice. Because man, there are some where you're like, I have to have the Wikipedia open to figure out what crime we're not talking about.
I mean, apparently I've never seen this version of the film, but apparently the version of the film that showed in the U.S. theaters was 11 minutes shorter.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys about that, actually.
Where did you shave the 11 minutes?
The only cuts that I know were made is one, they replaced the opening narration with a lot less informative one done by Cotton, I think.
Yeah. I think I remember reading that in the IMDb.
Well, no, because the version that is on the internet and that most people have with the British accent is the director doing the narration, Carol Reed.
Yeah, it's Carol
It's
Reed.
a very good, like, clippy narration to get all of our pieces into place. It's a very good building out the edge of the puzzle narration. I will say that. It does also sound a little bit like a nature documentary, but I think that's just because it's a British guy doing it.
Maybe the montage, I think.
That's maybe a little bit of that. Nature documentaries, but for cities.
I think that's just Koyana Scott's. No, there's actually a lot of nature in that movie too. Anyway, totally derailed my train of thought with that. I derailed my own train of thought to do a bit, sacrificed a point on the altar of the bit.
The other tagline for this podcast.
No, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that like Anna isn't either a coherent waif or a coherent femme fatale, which I guess makes her somewhat interesting. She still definitely feels we make the joke. She still definitely feels like a woman written by dudes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's not even a prediction. That's just 99% of the time a fact.
Doesn't stop it from sucking every time.
I mean, so Graham Greene was a fairly prolific author. I don't recall, like, let me look at selected works. I don't really know how many of these I've actually read. I guess my point would be, like, I don't recall him being this is not the worst depiction of women in 1940s cinema or in film noir. She does feel less like a plot device and more like a realized character. I like that she doesn't like that. Like Holly is very clearly trying to like put the moves on her, and she's just utterly uninterested.
Yeah.
I mean, I think honestly, the film kind of wants you to have the point of view that Holly's a bit of a dork.
Holly is a huge dork, which is part of what makes the film like charming. Like there's a scene right at the beginning where he's gotten drunk and at the bar, and he's kind of like talking to the British commander who does not really have a lot of patience for him, and he tries to basically like get pissed at the guy and haul off and hit him, but you know, he's a writer. The British commander is a military guy who probably just saw some real action a few years ago. He just bops him out in one punch.
Yeah. My other favorite is when he's, when Calloway's, like, having him in the office, and he's listing all of his crimes, and he's like, you should also add drunk and disorderly, and he's like, I've already got that one!
Calloway is a very good, very fun character.
There is a secret, there's a secondary buddy comedy in there with those two.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of not Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. That's giving it too much credit. But like a Starsky and Hutch sort of way.
Okay, I could see that.
Like there's a British upper lip versus the American cowboy Starsky and Hutch solving crimes across post-war Europe in there with those two.
I feel like for that to actually work, though, Holly would have to be in any way adept at solving crime.
No, that's funnier. Because here's the thing: he's not adept at solving crime, but he is very good at like pushing his like. He's got the American instinct of first of all, first way of getting to know anything is be a nosy bitch. And so, like, I feel like Calloway could use him much like a sniffer dog. Again, the Romanian's effort of like standing 10 feet behind Holly as he fumbles his way into things and going like, all right, there is actually something there. Hang on, protocol.
I mean, I am lightly reminded of one of the most underseen movies of the 2010s, which is The Nice Guys.
Yeah!
That is so good. The fact that we don't have the fact that we're not like awash in sequels is just
Crime.
a crime when it's a crime.
A movie about two people who are not actually any good at solving crimes, trying desperately to solve a crime, best exemplified by a sequence where main character makes an elaborate plan that hinges on information he hallucinated. 10 out of 10 movie, not even kidding.
Oh, I love that movie so much.
But so, oh man, I got completely sidetracked talking about another thing. We are River. I love you. You turn my brain into tangent town. It's not far for me to go to get there.
It's the shared ADHD and commitment to the bit.
It is.
But yeah, they sort of have like a semi more antagonistic relationship than like the French cop and Humphrey Bogart's character in Casablanca.
Mm.
Like that's the other ending of this movie is the Casablanca ending of like this is the start of a beautiful friendship. But like this ending it is funnier for this movie.
I mean, like the central thing that makes it kind of fun and that makes the movie less of what it could be a huge downer if like Holly was trapped in this foreign city with his friend dead, surrounded by enemies. But what makes it sort of consistently funny is at all points he's got at least one, often more, people going like, "Hey man, here's a plane ticket. Get the fuck out of here. You are causing problems." And 9 times out of 10, that dude is Holloway, who multiple times tries to drive him to the airport.
I think the other thing is Calloway's second in command, who also I called his death immediately when he was like actually a fan of Holly's book. I'm like, oh, you're dead by the end of this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like that whole dynamic, like it. I feel like Calloway has just been trained with that guy. That he's like, oh, it's just there's just two of you now. Got it. Leashes. Get Calloway a backpack leash for Holly. That's the solution. Holly Martins just needs a backpack leash.
But you are correct that Holly sort of exemplifies the American mindset of just sort of like, it doesn't matter if I am wanted or needed in this situation, I am inserting myself.
Yeah. But also, like, we're gonna make all of these cracks, but maybe actors are good at their job, actually. The silent exchange between him and Harry at the end, where Harry has actually found the one great that isn't being surrounded by cops, but he cannot he's, like, blood lost himself to the point where he cannot get out. And, you know, Calloway makes the calls, like, if you see him, shoot him, not knowing that, you know, Holly has already seen him, and they just sort of stare at each other for a bit, and Harry just sort of gives that, like, single small nod of, like, it's okay, you can shoot me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, damn, man, that's kind of fucked up, actually.
I mean, that's the cowboy ending, shoot the bad guy, but, like...
The bad guy's your buddy.
The bad guy's your friend.
Maybe that gives it a Western quality. Who knows?
One of the underrated elements of spy thrillers is I feel like you need to get actors who can communicate information without saying it. And I don't mean that in like a passing information. Like, okay, example from a spy thriller slash cop drama set in pre World War II Germany, Babylon Berlin. There's a sequence at the beginning of season 2 where two characters are at a meeting and they both sort of look at each other and communicate the same three pieces of information without a word of dialogue, which is, oh shit, he killed somebody. Oh shit, he knows I killed somebody. Oh shit, neither of us can reveal what we know without implicating ourselves in our own murder. And it's like they have to communicate that information purely like both the realization and the sort of like you can't tell I can fuck you over without saying anything because there's an actual like meeting still happening in the background. And like that shit is so important to spy movies and film noirs because you do want to have those like tense moments of standoff. Hot take, Orson Welles, good actor.
Hot take, Orson Welles, good actor.
Yeah.
Even though the three things I have seen him in are this, Citizen Kane, and the original Muppet movie.
River, I gotta get you on my pod more often.
I had to stay off your pod because I was on 3 episodes in a row.
I'm rescinding your. Hold on, let me actually see if the movie that I'm thinking of actually won any Oscars. Half of his good stuff didn't win shit. God, Chimes of Midnight didn't win anything.
Well, that's the thing. It's the Joseph Cotton show for most of the picture. And, like, he's good at it. There's a reason why he's here. But I'm going to take it back to what I said at the beginning, where Orson Welles just wipes the floor with him. Like, it's almost embarrassing, man. Like, you're Orson Welles. Like, it's almost not fair. Like, it's almost like if we put, like, Daniel Day-Lewis in anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that man can communicate more with, a flick of his eyebrow than most actors, even of the time, could articulate with mountains and mountains of dialogue.
I mean, technically, this was a Citizen Kane reunion because he played Jed, right, in Citizen Kane.
Yes.
What am I looking at? Where's the cast? Yeah, he played Jedediah Leland.
Yeah.
And he was also in The Magnificent Ambersons, and he was in Gaslight. Like he was a well-traveled actor of this era.
And I'm not even saying it as like it was a surprise. I'm sure people knew, like, this is Orson Welles. Orson Welles is playing a character, maybe not the bad guy, but it's just like you go into a movie expecting certain things, and then there's just that one shot of when we finally discover that he is alive. That's just beautiful, and just throws every expectation you had just completely on the floor.
I mean, I think that having such a having a famous actor play an extremely small part in your movie, often as a twist, is like a pretty well trod thing to do. I'm sure River could give you oodles of examples, like say Scream.
Well, yeah, but even Scream does that really well too.
But Orson Welles is so interesting to me in this film because he just like you see him in the opening credits and you wind up like Milhouse in that one episode of The Simpsons. When are we gonna get to Orson Welles?
But I think the thing is that, like, again, I'm gonna crib this almost not quite word for word from Cineflix, but very much the same sentiment. But part of it is you've built up who this Harry Lime guy is all film, and there's no possible way anyone could physically stand up to everything we know about Harry up until this point, or even what's been implied about him up until this point. And then the light pops on, and it's Orson fucking Welles. And you're like, yeah, that'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Also makes complete sense why Anna's still hung up on this guy.
Real.
He looks like we don't often say this about men on this podcast, but you know what? I am bisexual, so we will be equal opportunity horny. He does look like $1 million in this movie.
Again, it's a good coat movie. It's also a solid hat movie, but it is an excellent coat movie. That black coat, I want it.
straightforwardly, a lot of movies from like the 40s and 50s are good hack movies.
Yeah, real.
Yeah, we should bring that back.
Why did we let the chuds take fedoras?
We shouldn't have, but like, and part of what makes it such a memorable, it's one of those things where I can't go back to 1949 and see this movie at a point where you know you aren't basically sitting forward doing the Leo pointing meme when he says the thing about if I offered you $20,000 for every one of those dots that stops moving, or tells Holly about the cuckoo clock. Like, those are, outside of Citizen Kane, those might be two of the most famous like Orson Welles dialogues in film history.
Yeah.
And honestly, just going back to the character for a second, I found it fascinating just how evil he is.
Mm,
It almost reminded me of like a, this is probably wrong, but like a Hannibal Lecter, where it's like you don't see much, but the way people are talking this guy up, and then when we finally do see him, it's just absolute pure. Even the way he thinks is just evil.
He's evil like a good gangster is. Like, the thing is that when you've got a gangster in a movie and you're not supposed to just point and laugh at them, like a lot of them have become, like, I mentioned the Kingpin earlier. The Kingpin's whole bugbear is the fact that A, he's fucking terrifying and will smash your head in with a car door, but B, he's moved all of his assets and money and illegal operations in such a way that it is impossible to pin him down legally. Like, I think that is like the one thing that, like, if this movie were redone, it's that they're not full, they don't have the full piece. Part of the reason they need Cotton, or part of the reason they need Holly so much at the end, is not just to catch him, but to get one more piece of information that ties him specifically to it.
mm,
And so, like, he moves in such a way where you're just like, you know I'm watching the cop procedural about this, and they would never be able to pin him if they need like one more piece of information if we were running this like a cop procedural and not a personal noir.
mm,
But because we're running it like a personal noir, we are allowed to have him have the cops have all the pieces, and we are more leveraging that idea again of personal loyalty, of you won't do this to your friend, but look at what chaos and harm your so-called friend is currently causing. And the all right, you son of a bitch, I'll do it. I don't think he gets a son of a bitch, but he should have gotten a son of a bitch.
should have gotten a son of a bitch. It feels like a son of a bitch kind of movie.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? It's 1949.
Who gets a fuck in this movie?
Holly, obviously.
Maybe for a comic sense, the Romanian.
The Romanian gets a shit before he sends the guys after Holly.
Well, another thing that I think is like really, so you only have like 10 minutes of screen time from Orson Welles, and half of that is just him running through a sewer. So you really gotta like get his ethos out very quickly, and I think the mix of his like the if I were to offer you $20,000 for every dot that stopped moving speech, and the fact that he's just kind of like, well, what can I do about it? About Anna getting deported. He's a scary guy, but he's also just kind of like slimy and, how do I put this?
Gross.
Well, gross, but like,
Evil, abhorrent.
yeah, no, 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 those aren't the words that I'm looking for. He's awful, but he's also just kind of like pathetic about it. Like, he's not even willing to just say, "Yeah, I don't give a fuck about Anna. Whatever she was to me, it's not important enough for me to do anything about it. Fuck her." He was like, "Well, my hands are tied."
So maybe immoral.
Hmm. And like, we talk a lot about the banality of evil in general, and that is a phrase that sort of like came into popularity around this time period. Although, go listen to the Behind the Bastards episode on Adolf Eichmann. I don't he there was nothing banal about that guy's evil, is all I will say. But the the point I'm making is like, just a dude who doesn't really see anyone other than himself as really a person, just sort of like doing whatever he wants in order to make whatever money he wants in order to live comfortably and happily is I feel like pretty accurate summation of evil, both in during the Nazi time period, after the Nazi time period, and unfortunately, kind of ongoing.
Which actually made me thinking, which I actually had a thought. Part of me wonders if Harry is sort of a nihilist icon. I mean, if cared about anything,
I can see it. Yeah, theoretically, nihilists wouldn't have icons, but
in theory.
I actually kind of wonder if he's more of an icon to. I can't believe I have to reference these fucking people. Speaking of banal evil, the like hard time, good hard men make good times make soft men types, because he basically gives that version of a version of that kind of mindset speech. The Borgias ruling Italy with an iron fist created the Renaissance. Switzerland having 300 years of democracy and peace created the cuckoo clock. That is the mindset those people live under.
It always comes back to politics.
Everything is political. Art is always political. I mean, I'm being a little flippant there, but it's true. Art's always kind of got a political bent to it, and a movie about a war-shocked city in the aftermath of what is still the largest conflict in human history, it's gonna get politics are gonna be there.
Well, I was just setting you up to say that line, but all right.
I appreciate it.
The other thing that I feel like we sort of glanced at, but this did win best cinematography. And while it didn't invent the Dutch angle, who boy are there a lot of them.
Oh god, it felt like Hal Hartley. You guys ever see Faye Graham?
No.
It's entirely in Dutch angles.
Whack. Apparently, after this movie wrapped, they gifted the director a level.
That's real good. That's real good. They're mean to him. They fucking bullied him after his movie came out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because like the film is like considered such a classic, but it didn't actually get that much love at the Oscars that year. Won Best Cinematography, black and white, because they used to do that, split them up, and nominated for director and film editing, and that's it.
I feel like, but those are all like relatively well deserved like technical noms. Like, it is a well directed film. It's a beautifully shot film. Like, I remember when they first did when I like caught the camera up in the opening conversation between Calloway and Holly, and they did like that first Dutch tilt. I was like, oh, I didn't know we could do that yet. Or like the number of times where like like another thing I noticed in that scene is like when Calloway like blows his cigarette directly into frame, briefly obscuring Holly's face, or like when Anna does it. The number of times you're shooting through cigarette smoke, and I'm just like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's a vibe. Remember, kids, smoking isn't good for you, but it sure is hot.
They need to invent a kind of cigarette you can smoke without it.
No, Ellie, don't give them ideas.
Without, I want a completely neutral cigarette because, like, I don't want my nicotine addiction back. I don't want a vape. I don't even necessarily need it to smoke particularly. Just good for gesturing.
Yeah. The number of times, do you know how much I want to be a manic newspaper reporter gesturing wildly with a cigarette and a cup of coffee?
See, River understands my vision. As I think the only one here who actually ever smoked, I smoked between 2005 and 2008. Do not do the math on how old I was.
12?
I still recall my favorite memory of smoking is I asked my brother, who was a little bit older than me, when he was going out to get to the tobacco shop, if he could get me a cigarette holder. And for reasons that would become painfully obvious when I became an entire transgender woman, I wanted the Audrey Hepburn. He got me the Hunter Thompson. It was still good, but it wasn't like what I was looking for.
I thought you were going to say Cruella de Vil.
I mean, like, that's the Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah.
The point I was going to make about it not getting that much love at the Oscars is like, oftentimes when you look at a movie that's a classic and it didn't get a lot of love at the Oscars, the knife under your skin is you then look at what won and you're like, really? That's the shit that got the love at the Oscars. This year at the Oscars, it's like All About Eve, Harvey, Sunset Boulevard.
Oh man.
It's a big year at the Oscars. King Solomon's Mines.
I know people still debate Best Actress like it's a presidential race. Just, I, yeah, but it's just like you can't be mad at any of it.
Of those movies listed, I've only seen Sunset Boulevard. But
Good choice.
We'll we'll hook you in for some of them. We'll roll them eventually.
yeah,
All About Eve is fantastic, but
I think it might qualify for mine. Who knows? But yeah, like there are some years where you're just like, ah, fucking damn it. All right, there was no winning here.
I mean, like I as an Oscar, I guess I can tentatively call myself an expert at this point.
Burgeoning Oscar scholar.
I think I can say, in the most banal statement about this podcast ever, that I have been on the most episodes of this podcast of anyone.
Water is wet and the sky is blue.
Correct. There are a lot of years where I look at the winner. I think we wound up in a conversation in the server about Coda in specific, where I was just looking at it and like, that was your pick, really? You didn't watch Drive My Car? Okay, you do you. This is not one of those years. I wouldn't want to have to pick between the two. What were the options for Best Actress? Annie Baxter, All About Eve, Betty Davis, All About Eve, and Gloria Swanson, Sunset Boulevard. I wouldn't want to fucking pick between them. I haven't seen Born Yesterday.
It's not bad.
But, this was a good year at the Oscars. Obviously, The Third Man sort of became... It wasn't actually that well received when it first came out, as I recall, I read. But, time was very kind to this film, I feel.
Yeah.
It was kind in 1950.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that, like, to compare it to like something like Key Largo, where like Key Largo is very much like middle of the pack guys playing their safety zone, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
This one like sort of pushes on what we define an noir to be, and because like our cop is not, or our lead investigator is not a private eye or someone involved. He's just some dude, and it turns out halfway through our crime didn't actually happen the way we thought it did, but like not in a way where it's like we can't talk about it, but in a way of like, yeah, the victim's not actually dead.
The victim's not actually dead, but a crime was still committed, and there are still wrongs to be righted.
Yeah, and I think that like again that is sort of a push in the noir's direction, and like again, like I do think it is sort of folding into what our philosophy is about like this sort of style, not like of noirs, but of like the guy investigates crime, 3 dead, dozens injured. Not dissimilar to how I describe gothic stories anyway. There are a lot of story archetypes where X person stumbles into X, 3 dead, dozens injured.
I mean, dude walks in and causes chaos is a reasonably good plot summary. He shows up and the system, such as it is running smoothly in Austria, and this dude's like, what if I just fucking break it? What if I broke it?
In the terrible timeline where this movie got a sequel, I think that it's somewhere between like we gotta solve a crime amongst our own with the criminals / the power vacuum of trying to figure out what the fuck to do with whatever wealth that Harry has accumulated. Cause like I know how crime stories work. There's now a power vacuum, baby.
I mean, the tragedy of the ending is arguably Holly doesn't really accomplish anything except shooting Harry. All of his co-conspirators are still out there. There's no indication they're being arrested. Anna hates his fucking guts, and he's getting shipped back off to America.
Jobless.
And he doesn't even get the girl at the end.
Doesn't get the girl. He does get to shoot his friend though. And don't feel too bad for our buddy Carol Reed losing Best Director. In just under 20 years, he would direct Oliver, which would just get every fucking Oscar the year it came out.
He also directed a film that I like a lot, actually, called Trapeze with Anthony Curtis and Burt Lancaster. Great film.
I'll have to check that out sometime.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about all I got. River, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
I can do some plugs. You can find me on Blue Sky at Dreams or Bell. You can find me on Letterboxd at punk_skeleton. You can find me on my own blog at blog.filmline.online. I am also the host of The Straights Aren't All Right, a podcast where I gather a bunch of queers together, make them watch straight rom-coms, and try to answer the question, are the straights, like, okay?
No.
I gotta schedule our next episode. Whoopsies. In my defense, I got temporarily stuck in job limbo. So be on the lookout for that.
Fair enough. I'm sure River will drag me on again, where I will say increasingly unhinged things about banal rom-coms.
At least the next one's a Shakespeare.
Didn't I end up like talking about how High School Musical 2 was reflective of the 2008 financial collapse?
Yes.
I think I might be insane, River. You might just need to fucking put me down.
I am also insane, motherfucker. Have you heard the shit that I've said?
Yes, and I love you. Matt, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
I'm Matt the Movie Guy, and you can find me on Letterboxd by just searching that name. And you can find what I've written on stuff like Superman, which I loved, and that new Netflix sleeper hit, if we want to call it that, or just very popular among the online K-pop Demon Hunters.
I will watch it. I will probably have watched it by the time this episode comes out.
Great picture. Other than that, I would like to apologize to the country of Sweden for butchering that quote. I am so sorry. I've heard fantastic things about your chocolate. No, that's Switzerland.
Yep.
We can make fun of whatever European countries we want.
And actually, yeah, that's me.
As always, you can find me, Ellie, on Tumblr at Football in Tuxedos with dashes between the words. You can find me on Blue Sky, Medium, and Letterboxd at LSR42. And you can find this podcast on Blue Sky at Biggest Night Pod. We are available on both Spotify and YouTube. And if you follow us on YouTube, be sure to give us a subscribe, maybe like and comment on the videos so that you can tell me which parts you like and which parts you don't.
And thanks to both Matt and River for coming out tonight. I was really happy to finally get to cover this movie, but you know what? Matt was right. All art is in fact political, and we're going to go with one that is even more nakedly political. Next time, we're going to be covering our first documentary. It is a 1972 film on the life of a Pentecostal preacher. We're talking about Marjo. Hope to see you there.
Hell yeah.